we've been telling a story about the origins of our species. The formula is as follows: the first Homo sapiens diverged from an ancestral species around 200,000 years ago in East Africa, near modern-day Ethiopia. From there, we spread north over millennia into Eurasia, and then throughout the rest of the world. That story, it turns out, is incorrect. According to a peer-reviewed study titled Recovering Signals of Ghost Archaic Introgression in African Populations published in the journal Science Advances, a mysterious extinct ghost human lineage, distantly related to Neanderthals, may have interbred with modern West African ancestors, significantly contributing to their gene pool. The researchers discovered statistical anomalies that they believe are best explained by interbreeding between West Africans and an unknown ancient human lineage, whose ancestors diverged from those of modern humans before the Neanderthal-modern human split. According to the researchers, 4 West African groups found primarily in the rainforests along the mighty Niger River and its tributaries, the Yoruba in southwestern Nigeria, the Isan in southern Nigeria, Gambians in western Gambia, and the Mendi in Sierra Leone, derive up to 19% of their DNA from a ghost lineage. In fact, a number of ghost lineage genetic variants were found in unusually high numbers in the Yoruba and Mendi genomes, suggesting that they may confer evolutionary advantages. Genes involved in male reproduction and hormone regulation were among those identified. Nevertheless, one limitation of the study is that researchers only sampled current-day West African populations, and we do not yet know how far the ghost lineage spread across Africa. Scientists are just beginning to comprehend some of human history's complexities, but the true picture is almost certainly even more complex. While Neanderthal introgression has been documented in modern humans outside of Africa, the contribution of archaic hominins to the genetic variation of modern Africans remains largely unknown. Indeed, the unknown archaic group appears to have split off from modern human ancestors just before Neanderthals split off from our ancestors. Prior research estimated that modern humans' ancestors split about 700,000 years ago from the lineage that gave rise to Neanderthals, and that Neanderthal ancestors split about 400,000 years ago. The archaic population split from the ancestor of Neanderthals and modern humans means 625,000 years ago, the mean admixture time was 43,000 years ago, and the mean admixture fraction was 11%, according to researchers. The estimate of a large effective population size of 25,000 for the introgressing archaic lineage is significant, because this is a population size comparable to the European Neanderthals. To be honest, it would be incredible if our ancestors did not interbreed with other African ancient hominins. Researchers do warn, though, that the true underlying demographic model is likely to be more complex. Interbreeding among highly diverged human populations has been common throughout human evolution, according to UCLA computational geneticist Sriram Sankararaman. Remarkably, we are looking at a huge population of archaic West African Neanderthals that introgressed into modern humans, around the same time the European Neanderthals were introgressing with modern humans in Western Eurasia. The scientists believe the interbreeding occurred around 43,000 years ago, around the same time that Neanderthals were breeding with modern humans elsewhere on the planet. Indeed, scientists investigated the possibility that the archaic population diverged at the same time as modern humans and Neanderthals split, and discovered that this scenario was highly likely. That's why scientists use the term ghost, but another way to think of this creature is as an African Neanderthal. Yet, it is unclear whether there was a single interbreeding event or whether it occurred over time. This period also coincides with a partial pole reversal that occurred around 41,000 years ago, and lasted 500 years, possibly contributing to the extinction of the Neanderthals. Higher UV levels may have weakened lighter-skinned Neanderthals in Eurasia, paving the way for Homo sapiens to take over the planet. Instead of searching for ancient human fossils across Africa, the researchers sought genetic evidence of ghost lineages in modern Africans. They compared 405 genomes from modern people in West Africa to those from Neanderthal fossils, focusing on DNA that differed from the West African genomes roughly as much as Neanderthal DNA differed from modern human genomes overall. Although it is unclear whether these lineages are species or subspecies, the groups had distinct genetic differences. In comparison to the Neanderthals, where there is abundant DNA fossil evidence, physical samples in Africa are much more difficult to obtain due to the continent's challenging climate. In order to recover DNA, the conditions must be right for the fossils to not completely disintegrate. Archaic populations' bones have been discovered in Africa, but no DNA has been recovered. Despite the fact that the technology is continuing to improve, and people are still out there looking for more fossils. For example, the Iwo Elaru skull fragment from Nigeria is a specimen that we now know is less than 13,000 years old but has archaic-looking anatomy in some details. Perhaps this is a late surviving pre-modern human population in West Africa that contributed in some way to today's people. This is the only skull found in West Africa that is this ancient, so the search continues in the forests of Africa for these genetic ghosts. So, what happened to this enigmatic population of ancient humans? Scientists aren't certain. They may have died out, or they may have been completely absorbed by modern humans. For example, the A00 male haplogroup is a Y chromosome branch that appears to have diverged from the rest of the modern human Y chromosome tree between 240,000 and 580,000 years ago. This haplogroup was found in some men of the Mbo tribe in modern-day Cameroon in West Africa. The haplogroup was identified in 11 Y chromosomes of Mbo males, out of a sample of 174, corresponding to 6.3%. The discovery of this division of haplogroup A00 ancestral from A0 pushes back the estimation of the age of Y chromosomal Adam, the most recent ancestor through direct paternal lines of all humans currently alive, to 254,000 years ago. In comparison to the rest of the Y chromosome tree, this is very early. In comparison to the autosomal genome, it is not very early, indicating that African populations began to become genetically differentiated around 300,000 years ago or so. But geneticists disagree whether this haplogroup is ancestral or divergent, but it could have been population that was absorbed by modern humans. This haplogroup is thought to have entered recent human populations through interbreeding with a more ancient, diverged branch of archaic humans. It's conceivable. Today's story of African archaic humans is complicated, because we have just enough data to raise questions but not enough data to answer them. However, all of this evidence comes from statistical analysis of living people's genomes, and different research groups have reached different conclusions. Some point to multiple admixtures, from very ancient, diverged groups as different as today's people from Neanderthals, but all within Africa. Therefore, the A00 haplogroup does not appear to mark that early divergence, because it is not found in Harzan. In fact, another paper concludes that A00 is only 208,000 years old, not 338,000 years as originally estimated, and thus it is the same age as other A haplogroups. Therefore, it came from a now largely extinct branch of Homo sapiens. This A00 source population was probably a sister group to the Khoisan. So it seems that A00 does not come from the ghost archaic, which is much older, although A00 occurs at about 8% in some populations, which is about the same as the 11% archaic ghost genes. Thus, it is possible that haplogroup A00 and ghost genes came from the same admixed population in West Africa. Others point to a possible pre-modern population, an outgroup to all modern people that diverged only 400,000 or 500,000 years ago, and contributed a much larger fraction of West African genetic ancestry today. Some researchers believe that the Jebel Irhoud hominins were part of a pre-modern ghost population, or it could be a population related to the Kabwe skull of southern Africa, or the Homo skulls from Ethiopia. The evidence from Jebel Irhoud consists of human ancestor remains dating back around 300,000 years that resemble Homo sapiens and were discovered in the Jebel Irhoud cave in Morocco, thousands of miles from Ethiopia. This represents the very root of our species, the oldest Homo sapiens ever found in Africa or elsewhere, according to some researchers. But, once again, not every anthropologist agrees with this classification. For example, Paleoanthropologist John Hawkes of the University of Wisconsin is concerned about the study author's claims that the Moroccan fossils belong to the Homo sapiens clade. These papers are going a step too far. They redefine the concept of Homo sapiens by creating this category of early modern humans that I've never seen before. Whether these relics truly represent the root of humanity depends on how you define humanity. And there is surprising nuance and disagreement on that question. Are they really early Homo sapiens? Science does not provide an easy answer in this case. 300,000 years ago, there is fossil evidence of a population that in a remarkable number of ways resembles modern humans, and you can make of that what you like. You can either broaden the definition of Homo sapiens to include Jebel Irhoud, or these were creatures on the verge of becoming modern humans. You have to be pretty picky about what you let into the Homo sapiens family. There are plenty of people out there who are willing to take a much looser view of what Homo sapiens is, and would be happy to cram Jebel Irhoud and other fossils into Homo sapiens as a matter of convenience, or even a matter of philosophy. The truth is that there is a continuous line of evolution between early sapiens like Irhoud and modern humans, with no break in the line. Evolution does not follow a straight line. It's one with a lot of branches, most of which die off. Those branches may also rejoin in the future. Those reconnected branches grow new branches. Some of these diverge and recombine. Others perish. It's a tangled jumble. Lineages are constantly separating, dying, and reuniting. Our line is thought to have diverged from our closest relatives, the Neanderthals, around 600,000 years ago. Indeed, it is still unclear when we became human. Evolution does not always provide clear cut-offs between species forms. The fact that we don't know how human these people were makes me appreciate evolution's complexities even more. Every year, our human story becomes more complex and fascinating. We've only learned in the last decade, thanks to DNA evidence, that we mated with Neanderthals, and probably several other human species. We've discovered that several human subspecies once lived on our planet. We also interacted and interbred with them. There is still so much we don't know. On a broader level, it is forcing many researchers to abandon the terms species and subspecies when referring to different hominins in favor of groupings or populations. Other species, such as Homo sapiens and Neanderthals, are not thought to be capable of reproducing. Genetic ghosts are making the ancient world less lonely. And with that tantalizing statement, we leave you to ponder the mysteries of our human history. Until next time, stay curious, and stay questioning.